So the next crane hand that I'm going to go over is metal hand. I gotta say, out of all of the hands, this is probably my least favorite. I'll talk about why in a minute, but metal hand kind of goes like this. Metal hand, if you get up close and look at it, it's basically just this here. You're striking with this, and typically the way that we did this was with wave generation, so like that. I suppose you could also do it like this, but I would argue that it's kind of more fire hand energy at that point. This going forward would kind of be more the energy that you want with metal hand. Now, as far as like the downsides to this, I'm going to talk about those first because I really don't like this hand. I don't like it in application. It's fine to practice it, but like I really don't think that I would throw this in a fight. Your wrist has a limitation to how much it can bend this way, and if it gets hyperextended in this direction, you can pull a lot of stuff in here in really unpleasant ways and kind of break yourself. And I don't like the fact that if that wrist hits, that this hand is the thing that is subjected to it. Now you can argue that this is relaxed enough that, like, you know, you just kind of flow past it. But I think that there comes a point here where like that flowing past really wouldn't happen, especially if you had a lot of force behind that. And so I really don't know that I'd super recommend this. Maybe if you're in super close and you could super predict how it was going to land, maybe, but even then, if there's something else that you could do, I would say that would be better than throwing metal hand. So, advantages to metal hand, there are some. One is that this is a hand that is super in close. We throw this hand with our arms kind of extended very close to our body. And so if we find ourselves in a range where somebody's really in on us like this, what we can do is we can take this hand and we can use it to strike the ribs. You know, strike the ribs, strike the sternum, or even strike the throat. And, you know, really get something in there that has the range to deal with it, because when we add our fists in there or an open hand of some kind, we've extended this by many, many inches. Like, you know, this is probably like 6 or 7 inches here. So this right here shortens that 6 or 7 inches so that we have something that we can fight a little closer with and be effective with, because that timing between the strike point and the target when it starts has a lot to do with how hard that's going to hit. So that's one of the advantages of it. I suppose that another advantage of throwing this out there is that this hand hanging out there in the way that it is could also then be used for an arm wrap, or, you know, a hewn of some sort and go in and do something else. But again, I don't know if those super outweigh the risk that in my mind is associated with this hand. So I don't know necessarily that I super want to talk a whole lot more about it, because I don't practice this one in the sense that I would actually do it. The only things that I'll say about it are that, you know, aside from the advantages and the disadvantages I laid out, you know, the next thing I guess to cover would be the energy. And the energy, again, would usually come from a wave generation kind of pushing forward. You can almost think of the arm as sort of this long thing of linkages that is going out and kind of striking, you know, in this nice relaxed way. But you could also do sort of more of a you know, spiral generation of whipping force with it. But again, I think that at the point that you're doing spiraling with that maybe a fire hand might be a better approach, just because you're basically hitting with the same part of the hand, but it's a little bit of a safer hand just because of the angle that you're throwing it. So, you know, mileage may vary. Not one that I would use for fighting. Good to practice for relaxation, just to kind of see how your arms move. Maybe useful for up close stuff. So that's metal hand.